Hey everybody, it's Jax again from the Popcorn Review Podcast. Today's gonna be my episode 42, Raw After Evolution. And I'm gonna say Evolution because I didn't feel like the other pay-per-views or shows for WWE were any good. So Raw After Evolution. They did have a recap of pretty much everything that transpired between Saturday night's main event and Evolution. Just kind of showed you a little recap of that. But it was actually a really good video package. Um, but we all know that the big news that came out of WWE for Sunday was that Naomi is now the world's women's champion. She cashed in against Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. So she pretty much, you hear proceed with caution, and she comes out to the ring. Pretty much kind of still having that crazy laughter that she does. You did have that. She pretty much told the crowd to shut up for a little bit. Like they were like, "Oh, you deserve it." She's like, "No, no, 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 no. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear none of that. Y'all wasn't with the glow, so why y'all with me now? I don't want to hear none of that." So pretty much put everybody in their place, but the crowd was still loving her. The crowd still saying you deserve it. You should be there. Congratulations. But before she could even talk or get into her speech, boom, mommy Rhea Ripley comes out. Excuse me. Now, the crazy thing is that Rhea comes out pretty much upset, like, oh, you took the world championship away from me and you took the opportunity of me finally beating Io Sky. Well, before she could even go into more detail, Io Sky's music hits. And both times when these individuals come into the ring, Naomi's just looking at them like, I don't give a fuck. Like, no fucks given, pretty much. She don't care about these two individuals. She just picked her spot, and she is now the new women's champion. Well, they keep going back and forth, like, oh, you took this from me. But then Io pretty much tells Rhea, you get to the back of the line. I'm next, pretty much. Like, I have a rematch. Well, the girls start bickering back and forth for a little while. Adam Pearce comes out and he goes, ladies, I'm happy you guys are all here. You guys tore the show down on Sunday night. I appreciate that. Naomi, congratulations and welcome to Raw. And by the way, you three are now going to be one on one, or all three versus each other at SummerSlam for the World's Women's Championship. So you're going to have Naomi, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky for the World's Women's Championship. That's going to be an amazing match. It was already a good match when she cashed in. It was already a good match when the girls were one on one. Can't wait to see it. Now, you did have Finn Balor in the back, or a Judgment Day segment, I should say. And Finn Balor was covered in all the gold from the Judgment Day. He had the women's tag team, the men's tag team, and he even had Dom's title. And Dom walks in, he's like, "Oh yeah, Dom, here. I was just shining it up for you. Here you go, ladies." And he starts passing them off. But Dom is almost like, I mean, not Dom. Finn is almost like like he's expecting more gold. You know what I mean? Like he's almost like looking at the IC title like my precious, like from Lord of the Rings. So, but this does lead into another match. He tells Dom that he should go help the girls out because they do have a rematch technically against the Kabuki Warriors versus Asuka and Kairi Sane. So they go in there. Don't know how they got a rematch so fast, to be honest with you. Um, but the girls did have a decent match. I still see that Roxanne Perez is going to be there for a long time. They're definitely pushing her heavy. This match was good. Dom got involved again, like always. They're going to get involved, but this was a good match. Um, Dom saved the girls, so Judgment Day do retain their titles. But in all, another good match, to be honest with you. Like, Dom's doing his thing. Judgment Day looks strong, even though you see Finn still plotting. Judgment Day looks strong, even without Liv Morgan. So where is she going to fit in the dynamic of the Judgment Day when she comes back? Technically, if the girls keep winning championships, is it her title anymore? Or is it Perez's title? Because if Perez keeps defending and winning, at some point, she puts some prestige on the tag titles too. So are they going to let Liv back? What do you guys think? Let me know. You did have a segment with Paul Heyman. Um, or Paul Heyman in that group. Again, I don't know what the group's called, but they are calling Paul Heyman the Oracle. Um, they did ask, I think I forgot the girl who asked, the interview, but they were like, "Hey, how do you feel about Seth Rollins?" And he goes, "Seth Rollins fine. He's injured at the moment, but Seth Rollins has up to next June to cash in the Money in the Bank, so he's fine. There's no need to worry. What we got to worry about now is Braun Breaker being the next big thing. He was already the next best thing, and he's going to dominate tonight." So he's pretty much putting all his chips on Braun Breaker right now. It could be this pushes it to Braun Breaker to break off from that group. You know what I'm saying? He's already a dominant force with or without them. So we'll see how it plays out, guys. You did have Lyra versus Bailey. At this point, I felt like it was just like a women's evolution Raw, if that makes sense to anybody. You know, the women's had their they had the final pay per view of the weekend, and the first segment was boom, the three girls for the SummerSlam match. You know, Rhea, Io, and Naomi talking about their match. Then you had Lyra and Bailey. You also had the tag or Lyra and Bailey the two out of three falls, and then right before that you had a rematch for the tag team title. So for the moment there, it was like a Raw evolution because it was only women. So that was actually nice to see. But Lyra and Bailey go into it. This was a good match. A lot of people are telling like, oh, Bailey shouldn't be there. She's old. She's this. She's that. No matter what you say, Bailey's putting Lyra over. Same thing with Becky Lynch. They've been there for years. Is their time to put people over, and Bailey's been doing that for years. But for her to continue to do that and be happy about it says a lot about her character. But this match was pretty good. Bailey starts like punking on Lyra for a little bit during the match. She does get the first pinfall via roll up. And then the same thing, you have Lyra get another one. Lyra starts getting pissed off. She also gets a clean pin. And then they go back and forth for a pretty good time. They were both hitting each other. Lyra had a back injury issue during the match. Bailey had a leg injury. So Lyra took advantage. She hit her with the Nightwing, which I love that name. I'm a big Nightwing fan from Batman. So she hit her with the Nightwing, and boom, 1, 2, 3, super tight roll up too. Like literally, there was no way she was getting out. Even if it was meant for her to get out, Bailey wasn't getting out. But Lyra does take that 2, 3. Becky Lynch comes out. Lyra and Becky Lynch are going to be at SummerSlam. I think at this point it's going to be one of two things. Lyra's finally going to beat Becky, get off that hump, or Bailey might cost Lyra the match. So we'll see how it goes, guys. Oops, just knocked my camera. My bad. You did have a Stephanie Vakir segment or interview. She was being interviewed, and then Chelsea Green, kind of interrupts her before she gets into detail, and she was kind of being really disrespectful. She was like, "Oh, la primera means loser in Spanish," and she said something about her. Oh, and this means it for a winner for Chelsea Green or whatever the case was. But she got to be careful, because yeah, you talk a shit like that, but depending on who you talk to, you might get your teeth smacked out. She, Stephanie doing her thing right now. I think this fuse is coming about though, just to have Stephanie do something. I personally don't see. If I'm not mistaken, it's Stephanie Vakir versus Naomi at the moment, unless Naomi loses to either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky. I don't see Stephanie Vakir winning this fast. They wouldn't let Naomi win at a cash in at Evolution just to have her lose the title in 2-3 months time. That would kind of suck. They already did that to Jay Uso. They're gonna continue to do it to that family. That's gonna kind of be shitty, to be honest with you. Um, I don't see Stephanie beating Naomi if that's the case. Maybe that's why they're introducing Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green kind of screws over Stephanie Vakir, and then that causes them to continue to feud, and Naomi just pretty much goes into a sunset or keeps going to the next pay per view with the next person up, next woman up, if that makes sense to anybody. But after that segment, Chelsea Green was talking shit to Vakir. She pretty much like, no, you can't touch this, and her service or whatever, her service, whatever the case, whatever you want to call them, kind of blocking like, yeah, you can't touch me. So she goes to the ring, and her and Nikki Bella have a match. This was just like another women's match, which that's what I'm saying. Raw after Evolution makes a lot of sense. But this was a okay match. Nikki hasn't wrestled a one-on-one match, and I think they said 7 years or something to that effect. Um, okay match. We knew the girls for Chelsea Green were going to get involved. I think twice, if I'm not mistaken. Nikki almost pinned her, and the girls got up on the apron, hit Nikki there, and then Nikki does pull the win out there. The girls start beating her down. Chelsea Green and her crew start beating her down. Stephanie Vakir comes for the save, and then her and Nikki Bella kind of pose on the ring there, calling it a day. But again, decent match, but it makes sense that it was a continuation of Evolution. So for the first 3 matches or segments of the day, was pretty much talking about the Evolution again. So hope the girls get another opportunity. WWE, hopefully you guys promote Evolution a little bit better. Me personally, I feel like it was one of the better pay-per-views of the weekend, with right behind All In. Evolution beat out everything else that WWE did. Depending on the matches, Evolution and AEW were All In were like right next to each other, neck and neck. I would put AEW a little bit higher, but it's neck and neck almost, to be honest with you. So decent match. Hopefully you guys do better for the girls. Promote them. Stop worrying about all these other counter promotions and all that shit. Just put on a good damn show. People wanted to see the women's evolution. Just put it on. Stop worrying about Saturday night's main event, NXT, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Just show us a good pay-per-view. Finally, a pay-per-view that had more than 4 matches. You had 7 for the women. So congratulations. Thank you. We wanted more matches. But, you know, after that, we did have a New Day segment with Waller this time, which I thought it was weird that Waller wasn't with him last week, but Waller was with him. He was almost like a butler holding a little tray. And the New Day were kind of like trying to buy their rematch, if anything. And they offered Adam Pearce 2 wigs. He was like, "What the fuck is this?" He was like, "Y'all can't buy your way into a title shot. Y'all gotta earn it." And he was like, "Well, the wig's on you," and flips the wig on the floor. Like, "You can't do that. You know how expensive these wigs are." And then that same breath, he turns around, see the Judgment Day kind of leaving. He was like, "Oh, Dom, hey, Dom, you know, I want to let you know, you was acting pretty sprite out there, with helping out your girls there, but I need you to get re-examined to make sure you're good to go. Because if you're good to go, you're wrestling AJ Styles at SummerSlam." He was like, "Well, I'm not clear. I'm not this." And Finn Balor, "Yo, man, it's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it." And the guy, the 2 girls walk off. Finn and JD walk off, and he turns around and he sees Finn Balor like praying, like, "Yeah, about time. Yeah, thank God." And then same thing. He's like, "Dom, I'm looking at you." And he's like, "AJ, I'm not cleared. I'm not cleared." He was like, "SummerSlam, you will be. So you're gonna have AJ Styles versus Dominic Mysterio for the IC Championship. Who do you guys got?" I personally think it's still going to be Dom, but we'll see how it plays out. Or maybe Finn finally causes Dom the match, and then he chases the IC title after AJ. But we'll see, guys. Um, Gunther came out, try to celebrate. "Hey, I beat Goldberg this." Yeah, you beat a 58-year-old man. No need to celebrate. Honestly, you're not. I didn't even watch Saturday night's main event because I didn't care for it. These matches were thrown together like last minute. You had LA Knight versus Seth, which that could have been a decent match, but what happened? Seth got hurt. At least that's what they're telling everybody. Could be part of the story, but Seth got hurt. Jimmy Uso versus Solo. Didn't see Jimmy winning, even though a lot of people want Jimmy to win a solo championship. I didn't think it was going to be this fast. Um, and then Saturday night's main event wasn't nothing, so I skipped it completely. But look what happened. WWE tried to counter program. One of your main stars got hurt. You had to change things up. Well, with that being said, like I mentioned, you had Gunther talking shit. "Oh, I'll beat Goldberg. Who's next? Who's next?" And then Braun Breaker's music hits and he comes out, cuts them off before you say anything. And you got both of them face to face talking, like pretty much talking shit. But during that segment, Paul Heyman goes to talk. He's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul Heyman." He's like, "Hey, Paul, I don't want to hear this shit," pretty much from Gunther. And then Paul's like, "Nah, you're going to hear me. This is the big dog." He goes, "This is the dog right now." And everybody starts barking in the crowd, right? But during that, they keep saying "you tapped out" to Gunther, because he tapped out to Jay during WrestleMania. So you got people barking, "You tapped out." And then he tells everybody, like, he's the future. He's the big dog. This is his yard. Foreshadowing of Roman Reigns, maybe. Didn't think they were going to pull the trigger this fast, but, they talked about that shit pretty much. But again, just keeps talking shit, and he keeps bringing up the tribal chief. He brought the tribal chief up last week. Oh, the OTC is MIA. And then this week, talking about the yard, talking about the big dog, talking about Roman. Well, you had a gauntlet match. Braun was the first entry. Braun versus Penta. Braun's been beating Penta left and right, honestly. So I saw that being the same outcome. These guys have good chemistry together, but these matches, I think, was like 7 minutes or so, maybe 10 minutes, depending on which sequence it was in. But Braun Breaker spears the shit out of Penta. 1, 2, 3, goes out. Now, what do you hear next? LA Knight. Yeah, he comes out. They have an okay match, the two of them. They haven't wrestled as much as Penta and Braun. Okay match. Long story short, Braun Breaker also wins that one. Well, you hear Paul Heyman, here, Braun, here's some water, drink some water. So he's drinking water before the next match. Well, you got Jay Uso's music hit Uso, but he don't come from the crowd. You know, he comes from behind the curtain, gets into the ring, does a pretty good sequence with Braun for a little while. But what happens? Jay starts getting the better of him. Because it's a gauntlet match, there's no disqualifications. Bronson Reed gets into it, causes Jay the match. Long story short, Braun Breaker pins Jay Uso. That fucking sucks. Honestly, the next person is CM Punk. I personally thought Braun Breaker was gonna run the fucking gauntlet. Well, what happens? CM Punk goes after Braun for a little bit, starts getting the better of him. To be honest with you, starts kicking his ass. What happens though? Bronson Reed gets into it again, causes Punk the match for a little while. Jay Uso comes back, starts going after Reed, and then finally Punk gets the betterment of Braun Breaker. CM Punk wins. Okay, didn't see that coming. I personally thought, honestly, when I heard the announcement, it was going to be LA Knight or Jay Uso, and the other three weren't going to were going to be anywhere close to this. I'm surprised that they have CM Punk going against Gunther. Um, to be honest with you, they had nothing to do with each other, and you kind of just threw the story together. It could be because Seth is hurt; they're just trying to hurry up and match stuff together. But you will have CM Punk versus Gunther at SummerSlam. I don't like Gunther as a champion. I've said that many, many times. I think he's boring. I think he's stale. Jey Uso should have kept the title. There was no reason for him to lose the title just for Gunther to have that championship match versus Goldberg. That was stupid. Um, Honestly, I'm not a CM Punk fan either because I feel like he's a lot of drama. But I'd rather see CM Punk with the title than fucking Gunther. My opinion. You guys let me know what you think. So again, even though after Punk wins, you have Reed kind of wakes up, Braun kind of wakes up, starts beating down on everybody. Um, Jey Uso was there, so he tries to help Punk, but they still getting their asses kicked. And then what happens? The OTC music hit, or OTC1, or actually no, is it Tribal Chief? Yeah, TC1, Tribal Chief 1. Music hits. Roman comes to the ring, starts clearing house, whoop everybody ass. And Paul Heyman just looked shook as fuck, like, oh shit. Well, you kind of saw you had his name his name in your mouth for the last 2 weeks. Now you got to roll with that shit. Well, again, Roman beats everybody ass. He looks over at Jay, helps Jay up. They shake hands, hug it out. He look at Punk. They still got problems because what happened with Paul Heyman, but he kind of shakes it off and looks over to Paul and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed and is like, yeah, I'm back, bitch. So you got Roman Reigns back. Don't know where Roman's going to fall on this, but Roman did help these guys out. Again, OTC or TC1, Tribal Chief 1 now, his shirt says. But Roman's back, guys. Where do you guys think Roman fits? Did they do this just because Seth got hurt? Or was this part of the plan the whole time and Seth's just taking a timeout for the time being? But again, guys, Raw after Evolution. What do you guys think? It was a pretty good show. What do you guys think, guys? Let me know. Have a great one.